स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतार वरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। नमः श्रीयतिराजाय विवेकानंद सूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे। Advised to householders, August 13, 1882. The master was conversing with Kedar and some other devotees in his room in the temple garden. Kedar was a government official and had spent several years at Dhaka in East Bengal, where he had become a friend of Vijay Goswami. The two would spend a great part of their time together talking about Sri Krishna and his spiritual experiences. This is what the Gita says, Mat chitta madgata prana bodhiyanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti charamanti cha. My devotees, they gather, talk about me, tell each other about my glories, etc. Kedar had once been a member of the Brahma Samaj. He followed the path of bhakti. Spiritual talk always brought tears to his eyes. Kedar was a sadhaka, and Thakur used to like him for his ways of life. It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Kedar was very happy that day, having arranged a religious festival for Sri Ramakrishna. The singer had been heard by Ram, and the whole day passed in joy. So that is why, Thakur, you would go to somebody's house in Calcutta. There will be a good gathering of devotees. There will be spiritual talks throughout the day. And sometimes somebody will arrange a Ramayan Gan or something else. And then, all will be fed nicely. And then almost by night time, somebody will disperse. Whole day would be spent like that. The master explained to the devotees the secret of communion with God. With the realization of Satchidananda, one goes into Samadhi. Then duties drop away. Supposing I've been talking about the Ustad and he arrives, what need is there of talking about him? How long does the bee buzz around? So long as he isn't sitting on the floor. But it will not do for the sadhaka to renounce duties. So, Thakur clearly says, she is always, particularly many those who gathered were all from the world. It's always a question of duty that worries many. How long should I do? What is my kartavya? Am I neglecting it in the name of spirituality? These kinds of doubts always come to their mind. So he clearly says, when one realizes the highest, duties automatically drop off. You don't have to give them up specifically. Then he gives good examples like you're talking about the Ustad, till he comes only you'll talk. The moment he comes, then there's no point in talking about Ustad, when he will come and all that. Similarly, he says, a bee as long till it sits on the flower, it is buzzing around. The moment it sits, then it is busy immersing itself in drinking the madhu or honey. So, the point is, that's what he says, it's not good for sadhaka to renounce duties. He should perform his duties as worship, japa, meditation, prayer and pilgrimage. Because he's talking about the highest kind of duties. Because, you see, normally when people start the spiritual life, and this doubt often comes. And many try to even avoid doing any work or this or that, saying that no, it's not necessary. One has to, that is why Swamiji laid so much emphasis on Karma Yoga. Because unless one is really fit for that kind of an intense spiritual life, it is not possible to spend time in sadhana. See, not. One will be only whiling away the time. It's not merely sitting physically in a particular place or a particular posture for a number of others. That's why Thakur, all he says in connection with, communion with God. So unless one is able to commune or communicate, So there is no point in merely undertaking any kind of practice or anything. So, but so Swamiji says he doesn't even talk about japa meditation at all. He says intense service for others, so that the cobwebs in the mind get cleared, you become pure, so that you are able to. The mind should get attracted towards God. See, unless we experience that kind of a joy, why is the bee silent the moment it goes sits on a flower? The drinking of honey is such a pleasurable experience for the bee. Nothing can compensate for that. So similarly, if you feel that communing with God or praying Him with great intensity from the depths of your heart, somehow you feel, then it's possible. Otherwise, in most of our cases, the sadhana is, kind of, we know we have to do sadhana. We know it's very essential. Spiritual life is the only way of life and all that. But Thakur also always talks about this rasa, the joy of that kind of a communion or that kind of a practice. Even to do we really feel, do we really see intensely happy and joyful even while doing japa? Very, very few. Only very advanced sadhakas have that feeling. For most of us, we try to concentrate on mind, which constantly goes away from the object. Again, we try to bring you back, and the mala keeps rolling. It's okay. It's all good. But unless that intensity comes, it's very difficult to do sadhana for long hours in a very meaningful way. So it's always good to do our duties. No one should give up. Thakur is little more specific. He says, puja, japa, dhyana, prarthana, going to pilgrimage. See, the point is, in various ways you engage yourself so that you get attracted. It's not just unidimensional. Only japa, no. Sometimes you do japa, sometimes you do meditation, sometimes you go on pilgrimage, sometimes you sing His glory, sometimes you listen to those songs. Anything. By doing anything, there's also a saying in Sanskrit, Yena tena prakarena manakrishnam niveshye. By any means, keep your mind on Krishna. So like that, in any way, by all these things, worship, japa, meditation, pilgrimage, prayer, by doing one thing or other, somehow otherwise, there will be a monotony. Spiritual life, one great problem is, it's monotony. In our existential life, our worldly life, there's always plenty of variety. You can do this, you can do that, you can eat this, you can wear this, you can go to this place. But you cannot do daily different japa. The same japa day after day, year after year you have to do. So monotony overtakes spiritual life. So that is why, that's why in some of the Vaishnava traditions, etc., even in Uttarakhand, etc., they say traditionals is Bhandara. So, something little for a change or something like that to bring down the mind to the level of the body. So, but better will be, to do a variety of things like worship, prayer, pilgrimage. So everywhere, when you try to keep the mind on the lotus feet of God, and slowly it becomes more and more focused. If you see someone engaged in reasoning, even after he has realized God, you may liken him to a bee which also buzzes a little, even while slipping honey from a flower. Sometimes, if you say that the person is a great, the advanced soul in spiritual life, maybe a realized soul, then why is he still talking? Probably it's like the bee, which even while sipping honey, they make a buzzing sound. The master was highly pleased with the Ustad's music. He said to the musician, there's a special manifestation of God's power in a man who has any outstanding gift, such as proficiency in music. Yad yad vibhutimas sarvam. In Gita says, wherever you see this, it's my vibhuti, my special power. When you see the manifestation in various ways. So, similarly, because it's not that everybody has learned from zero, did not know anything, and then quite often, no, you find that they have even to start with, they have a great head start, or they're far ahead even at the beginning stage. So that way, you will find that some people are talented. Some can draw, some can paint, some can sing, some can do something else. All these are all God's gifts. Sir, what is the way to realize God? Shishan is asking. Bhakti is the one essential thing. To be sure, God exists in all beings. Who then is a devotee? He whose mind dwells on God. So Thakur puts it very simply. To realize God, bhakti is a very wonderful and simple way of doing it. But then who is a bhakta? One whose mind dwells on God. It's not here, there, it's always on God. And then he says, but this is not possible as long as one has egotism and vanity. So because, where there is so much of I, where is the place of God in such a heart? So only if one gives up ego, one gives up vanity, gives up all those things, only such a person alone can progress. So, the water of God's grace cannot collect the high amount of egotism. It runs down. I am a mere machine. So, to experience God's grace, one has to be very humble. Otherwise, the grace would not collect till if you are high up with ego, all the grace will flow. Because where does water collect? Only in a lower place, lower plane. Otherwise, in the mountains, it just flows. Kedar and other devotees, God can be realized through all paths. All religions are true. The important thing is to reach the roof. You can reach it by the stone stairs, or by wooden stairs, or by bamboo steps, or by a rope. You can also climb by a bamboo pole. So he says, the goal is to reach that ultimate, to realize God. The paths are various, different. It's no matter. All paths are valid. Whichever path is convenient to you. For some, they feel it's good to walk using the stone stairs. Some feel उसका बहुत मजा आता है. Rope पकड़ के जाने में. Some people like to climb up using the rope. So whichever you like, any path is okay. So the real important thing is to reach the roof. Goal is important. Realize God is important. So all the fights, all disharmony, all interreligious fights, etc., where do they all happen? They all happen only with regard to the path. My path alone is true. Your path is like that. So Thakur says you forget. Because we all go and meet finally at the terrace. When you realize God. So there is no need to worry about the paths. What's important is to worry about the goal, ultimately. You may say that there are many errors and superstitions in another religion. I should reply, suppose there are. Every religion has errors. Everyone thinks that his watch alone gives the correct time. It is enough to have yearning for God. It is enough to have love and attraction for him. So he says, in our, so supposing I belong to one particular faith, I think that there are errors in some other faith. He says, no, it does not matter. Why should you worry if there is any thing in another faith? Everything, actually, if one is sincere, that's why Thakur always says, see, to have love for God and feel attracted to Him, to have yearning for God, that is important. So even if there is anything wrong in your approach, God in His mercy would automatically correct it. Why should you worry about that? Don't you know that God is the inner guide? Because even if a person goes along a different path, it's also God's wish. Is it not? If you think that everything is done by God, God alone is the doer, Someone going along a different path, it's also according to God's will. Why should you worry? He says, he says the longing of our heart and the earning of our soul. So he's not worried about which way you are worshipping, whether you're giving so many flowers, or this color flower, or this sweet, or this offering. Nothing matters to God. So in Gita it says, even you offer the leaves and flower and water, patram pushpam phalam toyam, and that is yo me bhaktya prechati. I accept whatever the devotee gives with the devotion, patra, pushpa or phala, anything is okay, according to your capacity. Toyam means water, even water is enough, he says. But give it with that intensity of the heart, earning of the soul, that's enough. He gives a beautiful example. Suppose a man has several sons. The older boys address him distinctly as Baba or Papa, but the babies can at best call him Ba or Pa. Now, if the father be angry with those who address him in this indistinct way, because the child is not able to pronounce it that way. See, the point is, the real thing is, the father knows clearly they are also addressing me only. They may not use the same word or same syllable or same spelling or anything, but they are addressing me only. So if you are really praying to God, trying to reach Him, doing sadhana, will not God know that whatever might be in one's opinion, it may be a wrong path, a right path, or whatever it is, will not the all-pervading God, all-knowing God know that they are trying to worship me only? Will He not respond? Who has prescribed these standards? See, the father should be called as Baba. Has anyone given a mandate like that? It's all only a convention. Even Ba is also, supposing the whole world from tomorrow adapts. No, Baba should have to be called only Ba. And the whole world would change to Ba. Nowadays, I think for the last few years, for brothers, they've started term bro. Bro, I have never heard. Some years back, I did not know this term. Now it has come. Like that, instead of brother is bro. Instead of Baba, it can be Ba. So it's all only convention, the way we address people and this and that. So one need not take offense at that. Certainly God will not. Now will the father be angry with those who address him in this insistent way? The father knows that they too are calling him. Only they cannot pronounce his name well. All children are the same to the father. Likewise, the devotees call on God alone, though by different names. They call on one person only. God is one, but his names are many. So, all the devotees, whatever may be the approach, some may approach him. See, there are worships where बहुत गालियां देती हैं भगवान को, वो भी एक है. There are some sects where they use the foulest language against God. That also is there. With everything is a practice. That's also a practice. And in Tantra, there are so many, there are Vamacharas, that kind of. So everything is, nothing is, see, everything, somewhere or other, everything has God as origin only, ultimately. So whatever happens, whatever is being practiced, somewhere or somehow, through that method, somebody must have reached. That's why that has come into existence. Why this bar, par came? Because some children at that age had used earlier. So to such small children, who taught them? So by Sanskar they have got it. In the same way, any practice, you might not feel comfortable with that. That's why Thakur says, why do you worry about what others are doing? What is your kartavya? What is your duty? If you like one particular method or way, you do your sadhana and be satisfied and go ahead. That's what you should do. You should not worry about others. So, then again, it was, earlier was 13th August, now it's 24th. Sri Ramakrishna was talking to Azra on the long northeast veranda of his room when M arrived. He saluted the master reverently. Master, I would like to visit Ishwar Sandhya Vidyasagar a few times more. The painter first draws the general outlines and then puts in the details and colors at his leisure. You know where Thakur has seen how the artists work. He says they first draw the outline of the picture and then slowly they put the colors and the individual details later. So like that he says, I just made the preliminary visit, did the outer contours, outer lines I drew. Now I would like to put the details by going to Vidyasagar. The molder first makes the image out of clay, then plasters it, then gives it a coat of whitewash, and last of all, paints it with a brush. All these steps will be taken successively. Vidyasagar is fully ready, but his inner stuff is covered with a thin layer. So, there also Swami said, he is walking like a thief walking in a gold mine, not being aware that beneath his feet lies gold. So, he says he is now engaged in doing good works, but does not know what is within himself. Gold is hidden within him. God dwells within us. If one knows that, one feels like giving up all activities and praying to God, the earning soul. So actually, it's very beautifully put by Sri Ramakrishna. That's why, Swamiji's idea of intense Nishkam Karma, etc. They are not the goal in themselves. Through intense, he advocated so much of intense, unselfish work because he wanted us to get the purity of the heart, so that we are prepared for higher spiritual disciplines. If one is because one clearly sees that it is God that is dwelling within us. Then who is to help whom, who is to serve whom. All that idea of serving, helping others, doing good to the world, all that will take a back seat. Then the person will be immersed in sadhana, trying to see. I will give several examples. You want to go and visit the Jamindar. There are so many gates. Somehow you must get in contact with him. Then he himself will tell you how much property he has, how many lands he has, how many buildings. You don't have to ask anybody else. Similarly, once you go and give up that, then the idea of being indulged in other activities, all that will not, they will just drop off by themselves. Because, then there is a complete awareness and understanding. It's all happening by His grace, by His will, by His very mere wish. Who am I trying to do this, that and all that? See, two things happened in Swamiji's life also that really, there were great spiritual experiences. When he went to Shir Bhavani, so he was so much shocked by the Bhagna Avastha, the dilapidated condition of the temple, etc. So he said, had I been there, I would not have allowed all this to happen. Then immediately he heard the mother's voice. Am I protecting you or are you protecting me? What does it matter even if the infidels, they desecrated my temple or anything? And in a flash, he got the realization. Afterwards, only mother, nothing else. Just she took the mother's name and completely wound up, so to say, his activity slowly. Because he saw that it was through that a person who was so intensely active, like anything, so clearly understood that it's all mother. So he finally, I think it's a very famous letter which he wrote to Josephine McLeod. I think some 10th April 1900 or so. It's a very famous letter. There he says, Joe, after all, I am the little boy who used to sit with rapt wonder at the feet of the saint of Dakshineshwar. work, doing good, etc., they're all superimpositions. Gone is the guru, the teacher, the leader, never to come back. So suddenly, it was like a mist getting cleared. The person who was day and night really pushing others to work and doing good and all that, said, no, give up one life. What is that? So many lives you have wasted. Why not one life give for others? Suddenly he found that it's all gone. Totally. Completely surrendering to Sri Ramakrishna. Because he knew that, because he had all such great personalities, they come with a mission. So he knew that this time is over. He has nothing to do here. So, see, but then, that is what Sri Ramakrishna also says. See, it has to happen in the fullness of time with the maturity of our effort and all that. Quite often people, we read here and there and say, no, there's no need to work. No, one has to work. How hard he worked. 14 hours, 16 hours, that kind of a tremendous effort. Then at the end of it was all clear. So it is all he who is doing. We are just mere instruments. But it's all, normally we all speak that, it's all mere words. They don't mean anything. But in this case, it was all out of that intense experience. So the master talked with him, now standing, now pacing up and down the long veranda. A little spiritual discipline is necessary in order to know what lies within. So it's not easy. It's all we hear, we read in books, in Upanishads, in Gita and all that. That it's all within self, God, Supreme Spirit. But one has to do sadhana to know that. Master is asking, is it necessary to practice discipline all through life? It's not necessary. The question is, see, till you get it, you have to do. No, but one must be up and doing in the beginning. One has to do it intensely in the beginning. Okay, what beautiful example is. After that, one need not work hard. The helmsman, see, of course we cannot compare, it's foolish even to mention in the same thing. He says, even if you see Thakur's life, how much you would not know whether it was day or night. Such intensity. Oh, night after night, day after day, without food, without anything. So he was, but then afterwards, from the time, maybe from 1881, Master Moshe came, we really don't have much the details of earlier life. But yes, morning and night, of course, he is taking God's name and all that, no doubt. But you see, it was not, no longer he was doing that kind of an intense sadhana, because he was only just living that life afterwards. He says, the helmsman stands up and clutches the rudder firmly as long as the boat is passing through waves, storms, high wind, or around the curves of a river. But he relaxes after steering through them. So that initial tremendous intensity is over, then one gets the clear realization that you have steered clear of the difficult waters. Then one can take it a little easier. He sits comfortably and just touches the rudder, as if he is no longer rowing, he is just touching it. Next, he prepares to unfold the sail and gets ready for a smoke. And he need not do this. The wind itself carries. Whatever you have done, all the intense sadhana, that makes you sail through. You don't have to make any separate effort on your part. Likewise, the aspirant enjoys peace and calm after passing the waves and storms of women and good. All that intense desire for bhoga, that, when all that stage is over, when really one has to struggle hard to overcome all those pulls and the distractions and all that. After that, then one can definitely enjoy peace. Some are born with the characteristics of yogi, but they too should be careful. He says no one is exempt. Whatever may be, you have to do sadhana. It is the woman and gold alone that is the obstacle. It makes them deviate from the path of yoga and drags them into worldliness. Desire for money, desire for bhoga. That's what drags us from the path and drags us into worldliness. Perhaps they have some desire for enjoyment. After fulfilling the desire, they again direct their minds to God and thus recover their former state of mind fit for the practice of yoga. So, people born with the practice of yoga, we all say they are not very extremely careful and up and doing. They fall a victim to the desires for enjoyment and all that. But Thakur says, yes, they may deviate, they become that way, they move away from that. And then after a little, they come back and again resume their former thing, and then they again do sadhana. So he is asking, have you ever seen the spring trap for fish called the Satka Kal? No, sir, I have not seen. I don't know. Satka Kal apnara kyo dekhechen? Have you seen? Oh, I don't know. Maybe in the rural Bengal. Nowadays it's on all electric boats only. Those days, they used to catch fish individually, one by one.
Okay. No.
So there used to be a bamboo pole fixed to the ground. On the other end, bamboo is very flexible. So it will be bent and then it will be, there will be a hook and then bait at the end of it. As soon as the fish swallows, simply the bamboo becomes straight and then the fish is caught like that. They use it in our part of the country. One end of the bamboo pole is fastened to the ground and the other is bent over with a catch. From this end, a line with a hook hangs over the water with bait tied to the hook. When the fish swallows the bait, suddenly the bamboo jumps up and regains its upright position. See, it is tied, bent in such a way, you disturb it little, it becomes straight. So that's what, you see, you may be a yogi. If you fall a victim to that kind of an attraction, then you have to. Then, after that, again you can come back to your original state. You can start your sadhana fresh like that. Again, take a pair of scales, for example. If your weight is placed on one side, the lower needle moves away from the upper one. The lower needle is mind, the upper one is God. The meeting of the two is yoga. What wonderful examples he is giving. Supposing, taras in a weighing machine, traditional one, there is always one upper, smaller one, the one that is bigger, this lower one. If you put weight, it goes one side. Then you have to put weight on the other side to equalize it. Then only the balance will be restored. So, again, Thakur's every example has so many angles, so many. See, in that, what does it mean? See, this, the smaller one, the higher one, God, that's always fixed. It's not moving anywhere. God is always steady, fixed. Only the lower one, the mind, that keeps vacillating, oscillating, deviating and so on. So the central one, the smaller one, God, is always fixed. So the whole goal of mind is to again come to that state of equilibrium so that it stands in perfect alignment with God. When the lower and the higher are in perfect central alignment, then only the mind is a state of yoga, because the mind is now in union with God. God is the smaller one, so it's in complete perfect alignment. It's in union with God. So what happens when you put one side, when does the other lower needle move away? Because it is attracted by any enjoyment, anything in the world. All those burdens, all those heavy things completely take the mind away from God. So it indulges in yoga, it indulges in so many things. And then to balance it, you must put on the other side. What is put on the other side is what's called sadhana. What is put on the right side? Normally, most of the people, what is to be weighed, they keep on the right side. That is all that you desire, our desires, our ichcha, bhoga, all those involvement, everything. So when you have it, no way there will be yoga between God and the mind. The mind will be far away. To balance it, you put weights on the other side. See, the enjoyments, etc., whatever it is in the world, they can all be different. Sometimes you weigh jaggery, sometimes you weigh rice, sometimes you weigh something else, sometimes you weigh sabji. So the enjoyments are so various. Involvement in the world, participating is of innumerable dimensions and directions and varieties and all that. All that is happening on the right side. On the other side, when you put the weights are, maybe there is more weight, less weight, but then they're all of that same type only, same category. So the more and more you do sadhana, at that time, exactly when it matches, it will have yoga. So what you do by way of sadhana, to balance your deviation from God in the form of your bhoga, involvement, etc., that is what is will give you, bring to the sadhana, to the center. And then, if you put indiscriminately this side, and it can completely go this side also. So, we should know how much we should do, how prepared we are, whatsoever this thing. Then only the union with God, the state of yoga is possible. Unless the mind becomes steady, there cannot be yoga. It is the wind of worldliness that always disturbs the mind, which may be likened to a candle flame. If the flame does not move at all, and one is said to have attained yoga. So, even if there is a small puff of wind, need not be, if it is big, means that it will be completely blown up, it will be totally gone. But, if you say the mind, liken the mind to a candle flame, very rarely it is completely steady, Unless you have that kind of this thing, it will never be steady. So, then only you can say you are in a state of yoga. So, even a small puff of wind can distract it, take it away, and all that. So, it cannot be otherwise. So, if you want to be in a state of yoga, then, it has to be absolutely still. There cannot be even the least of deviation or wavering or flickering or anything. So, you understand how difficult it is to reach the state of yoga. It's not easy because, if the wind blows a little more stronger, then it will be completely put out. Is it not? But even a little, just a little air, it can shake it. So if it has to be completely steady, if you have to reach the state of yoga, it has to be without any flicker. It has to be absolutely still. So quite often, sometimes that's why they take, they put a cover over it, shade over it, so that, it doesn't flicker. See, wind is there, all that disturbs us. Our desires, our thoughts, our other actions, our participation, mainly all those Sharipus, Kama, Krodha, etc., all that. So maybe it may be good to put a covering so that all those things do not come and attack it. It's also possible. That's why in many places you keep it, there's a shade for that, there's a cover for that. Within the glass case it is kept so that flame is absolutely steady. That's also possible. If that flame doesn't move at all, then it is said to have attained yoga. Woman and gold alone is the obstacle to yoga. Always analyze what you see. What is there in the body of a person? Only such things as blood, flesh, fat, entrails and the like. Why should one love such a body? So, ultimately, Sri says only the desire for bhoga, enjoyment, that is what is obstacle to yoga. So if one thinks deeply, anything, whatever, there's no difference between the best of things and worst of things. Basically, all are same only. Even the most cherished sweet meat or even cow dung or anything you take, essentially they're all same, made of the 5 elements only. Why should should have so much attraction for one and so much dislike for other? So absolutely there is no this thing, So what is there in the only people we crave, we try to decorate ourselves, pay so much attention to body. Swami says, what is there if you really think of it? It's all only flesh, fat, blood and things like that. Which if you separate these elements and keep them in a glass case, would anyone ever admire it? Only when they are put together and over you put some cloth or something, then it becomes the most coveted thing and you crave for it, they fight, people die, people kill, people commit suicide. All that happens. Simply this. And also for some time only. When we become older, we ourselves can't look at our pictures of our younger days. Is it me? I can't believe what has happened. So this is the nature. But yet, there is so much of desire, so much of clinging to this body. So that's why again, Sri says, this is what one should be aware of. What is really creating that obstacle for yoga or realizing the higher state of God consciousness. So we can stop here. We can have a couple of questions if you want. And we can again see. I do not know, next month I will see what can be done. So he says, why should one love such a body? There is nothing there. This is what it contains. So if you really think, no one would ever admire a human body after that, is it not? But yet, all our life is given only to tending to this body. It's what engages much of our attention. Maybe in younger days, so much of beautification. In older days, so much of medication and medicine and illness and so on. Ultimately, one way or other, death. Yes, anyone? The open house for questions.
Maharaj?
Yes.
Like you were mentioning that about the realization that Swamiji had when that God alone is the doer, that Ma alone is the doer. You mentioned that there were twice that he realized. So what is the other instance when he felt that he's not the doer and it's only Ma alone is doing everything?
No, not twice. Here it was, in Shir Bhavani, it was very clear.
Yes, and the other time?
That was the only time he clearly mentions that way. Maybe elsewhere, I don't know where it was, but in Shir Bhavani, it was unmistakable what he had.
Yes.
Then suddenly he really understood it's all mother. So he was only taking mother's name afterwards. It was a very powerful experience because he clearly heard mother's voice telling him that way.
Who is protecting whom, yes.
Yeah.
And that's when he realized...
No, mother also clearly says, what does it matter if unbelievers defile my temple? Because, it's like, if a small child, if it dirties the mother's cloth, will the mother ever take offense? It's like that. They may be unbelievers, but they are children who do not know what they are doing.
Children
so
of
that
mothers.
is
Okay, so this
that
is okay. So this part of the message is. I never thought it like this. Thank you, Maharaj. Okay, here. So that was also conveyed. Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else?
Two messages actually he has got now. Two messages. One, mother is protecting us, and the other one is if someone is unbeliever and they do like this,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah.
Mother is protecting us. When did he? And what is that? I'm not being able to recollect now. When was that then? When any particular?
But he says, when he says, mother, clearly the voice he heard, am I protecting you or are you protecting me? So,
okay, that part of it, yeah, right.
And
Maharaj, I think Thakur also mentioned in several places that loving this body, this is the stepping stone in our Nauralila. So this basically this Nauralila is the stepping stone to reach the final realization. They have to go through this. You have to go through this, endure this. I think after 2-3 chapters of this only, when he had broken his arm, and I remember those chapters where he said that I have started now focusing or loving my body so much. This Nauralila is now bringing me closer to God.
No, you give me the reference. Nowhere he says, I will love my body. No. Naralila is different. Naralila is in appreciating the incarnation of God in a human body. But for that,
I have understood
love
it wrong.
Human body.
I had understood.
Yeah. Nowhere. All his life is completely spent in going beyond the idea of the body. So, nowhere he says, I would love the body. Naralila, appreciating the Naralila, God incarnating in a human form, that he was appreciating. That is different. Because, it's very difficult. That comes at a much higher level. One can worship God separately. One can think of a God as much superior. That's one approach. Or even the highest non-dual idea is all okay. But then, to worship God in a human form, that comes after a much, much higher struggle. It's very difficult to understand. I even know how many of our devotees can say that Thakur was God himself. It's all mere words for us. So that comes after a great spiritual sadhana and realization.
In that context, Maharaj, that reminded me of that when he fell down and broke his arm, and after that he kept on asking all the devotees that why did Ma break my arm? Why was the
that's a very important thing. We will discuss it next time.
Oh, we have not come here. We have not crossed that.
No. That's after this. That's after this. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And each time I read that, and I also don't understand what.
Yeah.
And none of the devotees are able to, they all remain silent.
Why they will say? How they will explain?
What is he trying? Why is he asking?
He himself gives answer to that.
That will come February, March 1883 types. I remember those days. Yeah, so.
No, that's 1884, I think.
1884,
because it's 1883 now, so it will be. Okay, yeah. Any more questions? I don't think any more.
Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanam. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Maharaj, Pranam. Thank you so much.